Recording in
Mike Harris back with the Smokin' Poetry podcast. And we have episode 2 with a guest, Mark Pedersen, who is going to talk about his poetry and inspirations. So, Mark, hi.
Hi there, how you doing?
Good. So why don't you introduce people to who you are a little bit and what you do and where poetry came from for you?
Well, I've been doing poetry. I did poetry quite a bit. I wrote quite a bit of poetry back years back, but kind of got away from it a bit. You've kind of brought me back to it a bit here, and perhaps I'll start writing some more here.
Oh, well, what are you doing with your regular life when you're not writing poetry and reading on things on shows like mine?
Well, for the past 25 years, 26 years now, I've been a cannabis patient, and cannabis has basically provided me life. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for cannabis. I was disabled in '97. Exposure to heavy metals caused me to have severe migraines and other issues. And it was '97 is also the year that I rediscovered cannabis, and it started down that journey, which later began activism. In 2006, I took a trip across the country with 3 guys on bicycles. I drove a support truck, a Journey for Justice 7, which was to expose a lot of people to medical cannabis, talking to people about medical cannabis. And also when I started recording interviews with patients as well. I have over 200 interviews on YouTube currently, patients, doctors, scientists, activists, but mostly patients.
And how do you help patients?
I provide counsel. I counsel patients. I've counseled patients over the phone. While I was living in Colorado, I had a lot of patients literally made the trip to Colorado so I could talk to them and educate them about how cannabis could benefit them. Over the last 5 years, it's been predominantly late-stage cancer patients that have contacted me. My purpose hasn't been to be their source for cannabis. It was to provide them with the education they needed to become smart consumers. So no matter where they lived, wherever in the country or outside the country, that they would know how to use their cannabis and how it could be most effective for them. Give people some history about cannabis and other information that could be beneficial to them.
And I understand some of the people you help are terminally ill. Is that right?
Like I said, over the last 5 years, it's been predominantly late-stage cancer patients. So it's cancer, just about every form of cancer.
So obviously that can be a bit of emotional. How does poetry come into your life?
Well, in my previous life, I worked several different jobs. I worked 80 plus hours a week. I was a certified welder and pipe fitter. I worked in power plants. I also had a computer consulting business I did. And I also had a benevolence ministry where I provided food and clothing and counsel. And also I did a lot of hospital visitations. So I spent a lot of time with people who were chronically and terminally ill. So after I became sick myself and all those things in my past kind of went away, my previous life, and I was starting over, the one thing I realized was that as I researched cannabis and realized how it could benefit me, I wanted to share that with other people. So basically that ministry kind of carried on over into my work with cannabis. So I've a lot of the patients I've worked with a lot of children. And like I said, late-stage cancer patients. So there was a lot of end-of-life talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of end-of-life consoling and such. So it was rather dark. And I guess my poetry being rather dark as well kind of shows where I came from and why it was so very important to me to show people that there was more, that they didn't have to give up just because they had a cancer diagnosis, that they could still fight. and most importantly, what time that they would have. It's not quantity, it's quality. And when people have cancer and serious chronic issues and stuff, it's really about the quality of life. And that's what I realized after everything in my life kind of went away. What was left, and there for the longest time, I didn't think I would get another start. I thought that was the end. I really did. But cannabis gave me a new start. So realize that no matter how far down the road you get, there's always hope.
Yeah. Well, speaking of new starts and hope, is there anything you would like to read to us?
Okay, I can read you some. Like this one's from 1997, so give you an idea. It's called My Vessel. My vessel sails upon the sea of this life's humanity, a fragile crystal, a delicate sphere, filled with laughter, filled with tears. The sea rises, thrusting high, receding briefly, paused in the sky, suddenly plunged deep into the earth, like an unborn child now helpless before birth. Squirming frantically, overtaken by dread, darkness closes in and rejects me instead. Flung to the surface, expelled from hell, an unknown force has thrown open my cell. Rising ever skyward, a second chance to glory be, only to fall short, heaven's gate, all I see. Receding, falling backward to the darkness I know so well. I know what awaits me, another chance at hell. Up and down this gamut, never reaching a destination. I am thrown to each opposing side, short a brief hesitation. Paradise and judgment, ever beyond my sphere. My prison binds my consciousness, an ever-falling tear.
Wow. That's dark and beautiful.
Thank you.
How do you come up with the imagery?
Oh, wow. Well, a lot of it comes from my religious background, I guess. There's quite a bit there. And also, too, in the ways in which my faith disappointed me. I should say not necessarily my faith disappointed me, but the people that I was forced to have to associate with had disappointed me. I realized that if there was answers, that I was going to have to seek them out on my own. So when the illness I had, the migraines and fibromyalgia pain, all these things, memory loss, I had profound memory loss, was very isolating, extremely isolating. And I guess that's where I get the whole sphere kind of scenario, and that thing for grasping at hope,
Nice. Wow. Well, do you have some other things you would like to read? Maybe you have, I think you have a couple you were talking about, but you have something else for us, maybe.
Oh, this one from 98. It's called Behind the Veil.
Behind the Veil. All right, let's do it.
Pull back the veil before my eyes, reveal the truth to me. Snatch the scales that lay me blind that I might ever see. Open forth this hateful lie that I would know what's true. Bring me to that place where only honesty be due. In this world, this deceptive place, I'm lost amongst the haze. Reach out your hand and pull me through, redirect my wandering gaze. My heart, my life is set afire with passion misbegotten. Remind my soul, my inner man, of that which is forgotten. On this path I've strayed afar, so far I've lost my way. Return to me the light of truth, my hands it ever stay. Guide my ship, mighty rudder still, we emerge this deafened gale. Refrain the force that loosed my sheets, released my windward sail. On tampered wing I've fallen far, I pray I might return. Skyward still, safe earth's demise, lest mortal soul be burned.
You have the bars and the rhymes very nice there too. Do you have like formal education in poetry, or did you just kind of start doing it?
I just started doing it. Like you, just like you.
Exactly. No one taught me. I just did it. Yeah.
But just like your poetry though, we look for things that touch other people like ourselves,
Yeah. Things
you
people
write
can
about our
relate
own
to.
experience, right?
Exactly. And that's probably the best, is to write about your own feelings, I think, instead of just a story. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with stories, but when it's your own experience, it's that much more powerful. So
Excellent.
that's very nice. So should we do one final one to wrap up, maybe like
Sure.
a finale and for the episode 2 of our Smoking Poetry podcast here?
This one's from 98 as well.
Okay.
This one's called Invisible People. Specters pass without a sound, a vaguely nebulous mass. From the corner of my eye, I sense their presence. Without turning, I let them pass. If I don't acknowledge them, if my efforts graciously conserved, my world would suffer not, this fragile realm preserved. Translucent to the popular ones, so easy to ignore. To intervene would cause discomfort. I quietly close the door. Their needs go on, so why should I care? Like a tick, they'd suck me dry. My response ends with the evening news. I shake my head and maybe sigh. The poor, always with us, so the Bible states. God helps those who help themselves. They're on their own outside the gates. The world is made for the beautiful ones, the rich, the smart, the sly. There is no room for the invisible ones. Perhaps they just should die. We succeed by our own will. We persevere by our own might. The weak, the sick, the aged ones are best kept out of sight. What need have I of them? Don't preach their burden share. What profit I by helping them? Why should I dare to care? What would others think of me, reaching out to those soiled by pain? Surely they'd think a fool of me. What could I possibly stand to gain? When those we know should fall away, when ill fortune raises its ugly head, we scatter like bugs disturbed by light, good conscience replaced by dread. My life's too full for selfless affection. I must look out for number one. I shut out compassion and pity and care. I turn my back and begin to run. Suddenly, all around me, they materialize before my dread. Their presence overtakes me. I hear their murmurs, though nothing said. I feel the pain caused by neglect, the despair of hopeless existence. Their thoughts, now my own. Death's savor squelched only by life's persistence. As if awakened to a nightmare, but the nightmare persists, and yet empathy rises and something more. Could it possibly be regret? I see loneliness and degradation, but I see humanity still, a scarred and broken vessel that only love can fill. Like mirrors all around me, their eyes reflect the truth I shun. I see myself before me. I too could be an invisible one.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I feel humbled to have you on my new show, and hope you will keep writing. And I know I will, and I think you will too after this. So after this, I'm sure we'll have more people who want to come on the show. So if you are interested, hit me up for episode 3 and beyond on the Smoking Poetry podcast, and we will get this posted on the podcasting host sites and have all the links. We're on Spotify, soon to be on YouTube. We will get on Facebook, Amazon, and a whole bunch of others coming soon.
Excellent.
So thank you very much, Mark Pedersen, and see you next time on Smoking Poetry Podcast.
Thank you, my friend.